Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is VIN0923, VIN923. This is a 2016 1J7, which is atomic silver. It's kind of the goldish silver looking color with LA20 interior, which is the black interior with a standard carbon fiber trim. Now this popped up on Facebook Marketplace, $54,000 with 67,000 miles in California, and it looks like it's been a California car its whole life. Production statistics. 328 out of the 2,348 cars I have identified for the US 49, that's 14%, were atomic silver. Of those 328, 151 had LA20 interior, which is about 6%. So 6% of the GSFs are this color combination. Specific for 2016, 199 out of the 1,418 cars were 1J7. Out of the 199, 91 had LA20. Pretty common color combination on a fairly common color. It's like the third most common color on these cars. Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. Carfax shows this as a 2-owner, 0-accident car. Epic VIN shows this as a 2-owner, 0-accident car. And AutoCheck also shows this as a 2-owner, no-accident car. So guess what? I think it's safe to say it's a 2-owner, no-accident car. Previous sales. March of 2016, which first went on sale, $89,000 in California. November of 2017, $60,000 with 15,000 miles, also still in California. Still for sale a month later in December of 2017, and they dropped the price by $3,000 to $57,000, at which it looks like it finally sold. And now we are at here in October of 2025, $54,000, 8 years later for $3,000 less than what they likely paid for it, with 50,000 more miles. So this owner has almost driven this car for free for the last 8 years. Not a whole lot of cars you can say that about. That's if he gets his asking price, which we'll get to that in a minute. So onto the pictures. A good detail would go a long way with the photos on this. Very dirty, brake dust baked on the wheels. It just needs a good detail. Let's look beside that. Pretty decent photos. There is some damage to the lower passenger front bumper. You can see there in the photos. It does have some damage on that spot, and that's pretty common to see. It's likely from a curb. It's almost always on the passenger side there. There's some chips on the front end, not unreasonable for the mileage. The carbon fiber does look pretty good from the pictures that were provided. However, it doesn't show all of them. So I would definitely look at the center console, the one at the left and the right side of the dash, and the front doors. Make sure none of those are delaminating, which is very common, especially on the earlier models. But I would look at all 5 of those front carbon fiber pieces on the interior to make sure they're not delaminating, as it is a common issue across the board for these cars. So the price, he's asking $54,000. I think for the mileage and the condition, I think it's a little high. I think it should be closer to like the $48,000 to $52,000 range, which that's kind of where the market has spoken, where these cars are selling. And so at $54,000, he may still find a buyer because it is a clean title, no accident car. There are less than 1,000 of those cars that still exist. So this is one of those. It has that going for it, but it's got some miles on it. It's got a little bit of damage to it, but I think price slightly high, but we're close. Service history. I think this is pretty well dealer serviced, not like exclusively dealer serviced, but pretty well. The first entry of note is August of 2016, an alignment with 750 miles. It was out of spec. That does happen a lot in shipping. I had a Mustang GT350R that brand new, right off the truck, the alignment was out. So it's just, I have seen that on these cars, but I wouldn't call that common. But anyway, alignment early on. 2 months later, it was back for the same issue with the alignment. They must have not done something right. December of 2016, 2 months later, the same issue again, and the tech replaced the caster bushing brackets. And so I don't know if that's the lower control arm bushing brackets or if it's actually a different bracket, but that was replaced, did an alignment again, and it looks like that finally resolved the issue. So maybe something got bent in shipping, but there you go, there's your answer. I guess it didn't fix the problem because in May of 17, so 6 months later or 5 months later, same issue, same complaint, but the tech found no issues. And they actually had the foreman go and drive it at highway speeds and still found no issue. So I think could be a picky customer but everything was in spec and where it should be. January of 2018, the door lock on the left rear, you weren't able to open it from the rear, and they thought the child safety lock was on. It was just the cable had come detached, and they repaired it, and it's back. August of 2018, the JLB recall was done. That's the high pressure fuel pumps. Almost all these cars have had that done. Good to see that's done. January of 2020, the KLG, also known as the 19LE05 customer service campaign, was completed. And so that's basically updating the firmware on the GPS so it shows you in the proper location. So you'd be driving down the road, the main highway, and it'd show you off to the side or something. That's pretty common, and a lot of these cars have already had that addressed. If it is out of coverage, then the dealer will probably charge you a half hour to an hour to have that done. At that same service, front brakes were done, another alignment, and then there's a 3-year gap. So a gap between 2020 and April of 2020, well, January of 2020 to April of 2023. But at that service in 2023, they did quite a bit. 60,000 mile service, spark plugs, rear diff was serviced, front and rear brakes, all were done at 60,000 miles. So it was done on time. So this was 7,000 miles ago, but like 2.5 years ago. Front and rear brakes and the 60,000 mile service. So good to see that's done. It's sorted. March of 24, 64,000 miles, 4 new tires and an alignment. Good to see that also. April of 25, 66,000 miles, so 1,000 miles before right now. Oil and filter, brake fluid flush, and battery. So basically, I don't see any red flags on this car. 60,000 mile service is done. Spark plugs are done. New brakes all around. New tires all around. New battery. Oil's changed. And I mean, it's I guess, what do I not see? Valley plate. That's the big one on this, especially it being a 2016. Valley plate leaking is heat cycles and time, not necessarily mileage. So this car, get in a mechanical inspection, especially on this car, and see if it's leaking. If it is, $2,000 plus at the dealer, or an independent mechanic, $1,200 to $1,500 to do that. It's very labor intensive. You have to remove the intake manifold, all the injectors, fuel line. There's a lot of stuff that has to come off in order to access that. And so that's why it's so expensive. The other thing I don't see done, I don't see the transmission service being done. So doing even a drain and fill, but you can do a full service, do the full 3 gallons of fluid, 12 quarts, or the filter as well. But that's something that I don't see done, probably needs to be done. The lower control arm bushings, as always, inspect the insides of the front tires for any significant wear. Because this car has such new tires, you may not be able to determine that, but that may be something to keep an eye on if you buy this further down the road. I don't see anything about any of the carbon fiber interior trim being replaced from delaminating. So if you're going to move this car to a cold climate, remember it's been in Southern California almost its entire life, well, all of its life. So if you're going to move this car to a cold climate where it can be subject to temperature shocks, fully expect the carbon fiber trim to start delaminating if it hasn't been replaced before. The HVAC servo sweep, haven't seen that done, and that's an hour of labor or less at the dealer. But to test that out, set one side on max hot, one side on max cold, cycle through the defrost, the head, the feet, the rear, and then switch it and make sure all of the temperatures respond, where it's supposed to come out responds, and then you'll know that it's good. But yeah, it looks extremely well serviced. Otherwise, there's a little bit of the gap in service, but it looks like it was caught up to date after that. So get the transmission service, get the valley plate inspected, lower control arms, carbon fiber, the usual things, but everything else, like I see green flags. Clean title, no accidents. So go check this one out. This thing, I think if you can get it cheaper, but maybe the seller knows what he's got. It is a desirable one when there's so many out there that have stories and things. This one doesn't look like it has any. It's green flag, green flag, green flag. It's sorted. It's got all the other stuff done. One other thing that I don't see, I guess, that just popped in my head, the low pressure fuel pump getting reprogrammed. So if you shut everything off, shut the radio off, leave the engine running, shut the radio off, shut the HVAC off, listen in the rear seat, and if you hear a buzzing or a humming noise, then it needs to be reprogrammed. And I haven't seen that done on the service history, so that may be something in the future, and the dealer will charge you an hour of labor to do that as well. So anyway, that is VIN 923, definitely worth going and checking out. I would 100% go and try to pick this one up. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.